Hello, everyone. Welcome to Discovery of Self podcast, where in this space, we explore different topics to support our discovery of self. And one of this topic that is very near and dear to my heart, and we hold space for this topic to hopefully not just one story, but to hear your story. And that topic is homecoming to self. So I'm super excited. It almost wasn't going to happen today, but I'm glad that it happened. And I'm glad that I am here. I'm super excited to introduce to you our new guest to share. And she's trusting us in this space to share her homecoming to self story. Alicia, welcome to the space. How are you? How's your
Thank
heart?
you so much. Thank you so much, Flo. I'm so happy to be here. My heart is full and happy. Yeah, it's so nice to connect to your energy as well. And I feel like, ooh, this is a nice space to be in. Let's do it. Let's talk about all this stuff.
Oh gosh. Well, obviously is this episode is on the podcast, but I definitely do this. I think this is the first time I'm saying this. I definitely invite you all to make sure you check out the YouTube version of this so you can see how beautiful Alicia is, and not just her
Oh.
energy, not just beautiful voice, but her presence. Definitely, that's an invitation. But let's get right into it. So, Alicia, what does homecoming to self mean to you?
Homecoming to self means to me, it is essentially coming back to the core of your being and being in a state of peace. Ultimately, that's when I know that I'm coming back to self. I personally, maybe you can relate, am a huge overthinker. I have Aquarius in my chart, so like a lot of air energy. And so I notice that the mind and the ego especially likes to put labels on things, likes to create stories about things. And we have this part of us that lives in fear and worries about things and wants to compare and wants to, evaluate ourselves in that way. And coming home to self is just letting all of that noise trickle away and come back to your center and remembering who you are without all the labels that you've stuck to yourself. So it's, yeah, connecting to the essence of your being, which it's a really grand concept. But to me, it feels like an exhale. It feels like grounded in your body. It feels like peace. And then you're like, oh yeah, I'm home.
I love that you said that, because I say that when I walk into my apartment, especially if outside has been like heavy or tiring, I'm like, I'm home. I see that too. And I start saying it when I'm feeling home in myself. I'm like, I'm home. I'm so glad that you said that. So
Yeah.
I'm ready to hear for you to bring us a little bit closer into home. So what is your homecoming to self story?
Wow. My homecoming to self story. Okay. So this started in my 20s, in my late 20s especially. I had a lot of FOMO and I had a lot of ambition and a lot of what I call masculine energy, in the sense to do and achieve and commit and all this sort of thing. And I was doing all of these things in my life, the right things, let's say. So, working out and working hard at a job and being social and having a full calendar, but it was all for the wrong reasons. So looking back, it was very much chasing validation or a sense of worth, or, putting all this effort into relationships so that I could feel love, not necessarily to give love. So there was a lot of doing and a lot of being out of alignment with who I was. So I was working in a corporate job where I really didn't feel fulfilled. Like I would sit there and I just felt there has to be more than this, right? Like, what is this honestly what I'm going to do? Like, so that was really depressing. I was in a very toxic relationship where my intuition was screaming at me that this person is dishonest and he's a little bit manipulative, and but I chose to ignore that because I didn't want to be alone. I was in a circle of friends that wasn't aligned with who I really was, so I always felt like I was trying to keep up or was trying to fit in, but I didn't really fit in. And all of this ultimately came to a head with the most epic burnout you've ever seen. Like my body full on collapsed. To the point where my mother had to fly in to pick me up and take me home. She was like, okay, enough of this, come home, let me look after you. So I lived with my parents for about 22 months. I had just turned 30, and this was so depressing because it was like, great, I've turned 30 and everything that I've worked so hard for is gone. My home, my relationship, my circle of friends, my health, my fitness, my career, like everything just felt gone. So what was left was me underneath all of that. So I began this process of, first of all, apologizing to my body. I remember I was in child's pose for 45 minutes and I could just feel my body pleading with me, like, why is it not enough? Like, why don't you love me? Why is, why are you putting me through all of this? And I made a promise right there and then from, okay, we're going to do things differently. We're going to work together now. I'm going to listen to you. And so I started this journey of discovering who I was, falling in love with myself, loving myself unconditionally, listening to the wisdom of my body, listening to my intuition, which I had been ignoring for a very long time. And it just went on a deeper discovery of understanding energy and holistic healing and all of these different facets. And so now I'm kind of taking everything that I've learned to help guide other women who are finding themselves in the same place to connect essentially back to themselves and to realize the power within themselves. It all comes from self-love. I'm telling you, it's the answer to everything. The answer to everything is more self-love, for sure. For sure. So that's a little bit of a summary of my homecoming to self story.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, nothing. I'm just saying it has a very happy ending. Like now I do work that fills my soul. Like I really feel like I'm doing my soul's purpose. I'm so much more in tune with my own energy. I have more time to play. I have more time to rest. I have more time to just enjoy life. I'm much more in balance with my feminine energy as well. I have magnetized the most amazing friendships, really women that I could call in the middle of the night and they would be there for me, like incredibly inspiring women. I have manifested my dream romantic partner into my life, like most healthiest relationship I've ever been in. So everything from that moment has just flourished in my life. It's so so much gratitude. And this is what I want for every woman. I want every woman to recognize their power and recognize how to use their energy so they can just flourish and be amazed with how incredible their life can be. It's so cool.
Yeah. And
so cool.
Definitely you're going in that direction about energy. Want to explore that a little bit more. I have inkling of what it is that you want to talk about as far as energy. But as you were sharing your homecoming to self story, what resonated with me, and I feel like we need to just open up a little bit more, is it's all about self-love. It's the answer to everything. So you are oozing out with self-love. As I said, like I feel like I didn't want to be here today, but I just, something still brought me here, which is, I would say, it is the energy of love as you are starting to open up and share more. So can you tell us more what that romance with you, that self-love looks like?
The romance with
Whatever you
me,
want to share. Yeah.
I love that you use the word romance because that's exactly how I approached it. I decided to really romance myself. So there were little different practices. It was the way that I spoke to myself. I noticed I had a very critical self-talk, and I did a lot of work to just turn that into sort of like my inner cheerleader. There's this voice inside me that is always saying, oh, you got this, babe. And, oh, you're human. You make a mistake. It's fine. Try again. And I'm so proud of you. And, you know, really like that self-talk became very positive. Every time I saw myself in the mirror, it didn't matter if I looked like a hot mess or, you know, just completely track pants, greasy hair, whatever, I would always look into the mirror, look into my eyes, and tell myself that I loved myself, that you're beautiful, I'm so proud of you, just everything I wanted to hear. I will never leave you. I will never leave you. So a lot of mirror work in that sense. I started singing love songs dedicated to myself. um, they started out as, really romantic longing songs of like those songs where I miss you and I want you back and all that sort of thing. I would dedicate to myself because I had felt like I'd completely lost myself. And then the songs became more and more like, oh, I'm so happy I found you, those kind of songs. Like it was just I would sing to myself. I would definitely prioritize self-care. That was huge for me. Making sure I had enough sleep, making sure I was looking after my body, I was looking after my mindset, just really, really taking the time to put myself first. And boundaries was huge. Like really, I had committed to my inner child. I did a lot of inner child work. And I promised her, like, okay, we're not going to put up with these sort of toxic interactions anymore. So I would notice that if I met people and there was a part of my body that constricted, or I didn't feel comfortable, or I felt like, ooh, this just doesn't feel right. Okay, politely excuse yourself. We're going to leave the room. We're going to get out of here. And just to make sure that the people I spent my time with, like they lit me up in some way. I felt seen by them. I felt heard by them. And when I came home, I was like, oh, I feel really good after spending time with that person, instead of, why don't I feel great? Why do I feel drained? Or why do I feel, yeah. So really paying attention to what I was feeling, what my body was telling me of, this feels good and this doesn't feel so good. Yeah. But definitely a romance. Took myself on dates. Yeah. So just little things that I could do for myself. And honestly, like a lot of journaling, that for sure. Like really getting to know what's going on. What do you need? If anyone were to read my journals, they'd be like, wow, this woman has like 3 personalities talking to each other. Because I would talk to the parts of myself that were upset or hurt or, angry or in pain or whatever it might be. And I would write, what's going on? Tell me. And then my handwriting would change and I would come from that other perspective. And I would just try to understand and be compassionate. And yeah, it's okay. So really create love for yourself, really. Many different ways to do it, but that's the way I did it.
I love that romance. It's so divine.
Beautiful love story.
It is. It is. I love that. I love how it is also affirming how I felt about you, your compassionate witness, because you are seeing every part of you. There isn't anything hidden. There isn't anything being overlooked. Like you're present. You're so present to every part of you. That is love. That is love.
Yeah.
Holding space for every expression and feeling like, hey, you have something to say, so let's hear about it. Express.
Let's hear it.
But,
yeah, tell me everything.
That is love.
Yeah.
That is love. And on another analogy too, like parent, truly being the loving parent to yourself.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I remember when I first started connecting to my inner child, I would walk down the street and I could feel part of me felt fearful or anxious. And I just imagined myself holding the hand of 6-year-old me or 5-year-old me saying, come on, sweetie, it's okay. I've got you. Like I'm in the adult space and I'm holding on to you. And sometimes I would pick her up and I would carry her and I'd be walking down the street like this, like just, yeah, it's okay, sweetheart. Like I'm here. And I could just feel her clinging to me. And it's just becoming whatever it was that part of me needed, that comfort or that safety or that reassurance. Yeah, it's like I said, I kind of have a split personality thing going on in that sense, where you can be the parent and the child at the same time.
Right.
You can be the witness and the part of you that's in pain or grieving or whatever it might be. So yeah.
I thank you for sharing that. It's so beautiful. It's like as I was sharing with you earlier, there's part of me like didn't want to be here, but I'm glad that I am here because as this space unfold and your stories are shared, I'm like, this is so for me. Like I needed to hear this. Like for me, it's like falling in love with you, but at the same time, falling even more deeper in love with myself because honestly, I do. Everything that you're saying, and I'm like, I feel like that is my experience about myself. Like it's just so beautiful. It's like watching me as someone playing my role in some way. Like
Yeah,
this is
reflecting back
my
to you,
story,
right?
and then this someone
Yeah.
is playing it, and it's just so beautiful. I love it. It's so beautiful. Okay, so now I want to hear about like learning about your energy and what you have energy for. Can you share a little bit more about that? And what is that? What does that look like?
Oh, definitely. So I went into discovering energy in many different ways. I have a background as a yoga teacher, so obviously I went into the chakra system and understanding meridian lines and all that sort of thing, physically what's happening in the body on an energetic level. Astrology was huge as well for just kind of understanding different aspects of me and the different houses, the different planets. But a huge turning point was when I found human design. And human design is an incredible system that combines astrology, the I Ching, the chakras, and the Kabbalah system. And they create 5 energetic types, let's say. And within this chart, it goes really, really into depth about your unique energy and the type of energetic being you are. And finding out that I was a projector made so much sense because I had been living as someone who had a lot of energy, but my energy was not designed to do that. As a projector, I'm designed to rest a lot, to see into things very, very deeply and to guide people. That's kind of what my soul is here to do. So understanding that, I was like, oh, I get it. Like, I get it. I understand why. And it was so freeing because up until that point, I kept comparing myself to everybody else. And I was like, why can they do all of these things and it's fine? Or, why do they not get overly stimulated by all of this noise or people or colors or, why are they so extroverted? Why can't I be like that? And I was like, I'm not supposed to be. I'm designed differently. It was so freeing. It's like, oh, great. I never have to compare myself to anyone ever again because you have a very unique design. So that was really, really helpful for me. Yeah.
I was wondering if you can maybe you can briefly share about the different types, like you said, starting with the projector. But I actually do have a friend who's also a projector. And what I learned, what I like a brief takeaway that I learned from myself, not from her, but I just studied on my own because I'm new to human design as well. I don't know how long you've been practicing, if you can share that, but for me, it was just fall of last year. But knowing that she is a projector, and that she is to respond. So before I would kind of take offense when I feel like I'm constantly like inviting. And then now I know that no, actually she needs to respond. And
she needs to be invited. Yeah.
As a man, for me, I'm manifesting generator. I can initiate things, but for the most part, respond as well. But I allow myself to invite her so that she can respond and connect. But go ahead, can you share a little bit more about the different types briefly?
Yeah, briefly on the different types. I mean, I know the most obviously about projectors because that's my own and I studied it very, very deeply for my own peace of mind. But so as I mentioned, the projectors are the guides. And like you said, they need to be invited. So it's very hard for them to initiate things and it usually doesn't go very well. Because a projector can see really clearly into other people, something might be happening and they say, oh, I know what you should do. You should do this. They give advice. But if someone hasn't asked for that advice, it can go down really badly, like they don't want to hear it. So that's sometimes a problem we're like, oh, I know how to fix it. I know how to fix it. And it's like, yeah, but wait until you're invited. Wait until someone asks you for that advice. Generators are, I mentioned them before as well. They are incredible. They are like the builders. They really are here to create and to make the world a better place through their creations. And they do have sustainable energy. So a generator can go and go and go and go, and like they don't seem to tire out. But if their work is not aligned with their soul purpose or what they really love to do, they will burn out. So a projector will burn out if they're doing too much, and a generator will burn out if what they're doing is not aligned with their soul, like, and what they want to be doing. So they can work for hours and hours at a corporate job that they don't like. They can do it, but they're just going to find that they get sick and they get unhappy because it's not what their soul really wants to do, for example. And those sacral types, the people who do have a lot of energy, they make up the majority of the population. So it's very hard for them to understand the other types that don't have sustainable energy. They're like, why don't you work 40-hour weeks? Like, what's wrong? That's totally fine. Like, that's normal. And we're like, guys, I'm not designed that way. I can't handle it. I need naps. I need rest. So it's really hard for them to understand, like, why this is easy. Like, why aren't you also working at this type of intensity or long hours, let's say. And we have the manifesting generators like yourself, the Manigens. They're similar, but they can also create, but they're very much also responding to energy. So it's not like creating something out of nothing. It's very much feeling like, ooh, does this feel right for me? And then responding to that. So for some people, they feel that as energy going upwards, like it's a yes, or energy going down, like, ooh, it's a no. Sometimes they feel it as a pull, like, yes, I'm going forward, or no, I'm kind of going back. And sometimes it happens vocally. I don't know if you've noticed this with yourself, but if I were to ask you a question like, Flo, do you want to go to the movies? And you're like, oh yeah, like it goes up, like that's a yes, and I don't know, like it goes down if it's a no, if it's a no. So yeah, sometimes it's a vocal thing for people. That's really cool. The manifestors are here also very much to guide, like I think, well, guide in a different way. I think of the manifestors, they have a big picture. So they would be like the pharaohs or the kings and queens. Like they can see the big picture of what would benefit in the long-term vision, but actually creating it and the day-to-day building it, they're not so good at. Like they're happy to start things, but to keep it going, they really need generators to help them. Like they can't keep it sustained. It's really interesting, but they have this beautiful vision. And the reflectors are a really special type. They have all open centers, and they are very much about feeling into what is generally going on around them. So, for example, they're like highly sensitive beings. They really know. If you're running a business and you have for example, a feedback group or like a marketing group to understand your audience, get a reflector in there, because a reflector really has a sense of what everybody's feeling, what the energy is, and what's needed. I heard this story of this woman, she was traveling with a reflector, and anytime that they arrived somewhere, her friend would either say, oh, I really like it here. It's like, okay, cool, we're staying. Or she'd be like, oh, I don't like it here. And she's like, all right, get on the bus, we're leaving. Like, because as a reflector, she picked up on all of that energy, and she had such a sensitive, keen awareness of what was going on around her. So reflectors are amazing. They really give so much insight to what's happening in the collective. It's very cool.
I love how brief and concise that is that you shared. It's so beautifully put, simple, and even if someone listening they're hearing it for the first time, like they would really get a sense. And I feel like it's good to have even a little bit of idea of all the different types, just so you are aware and can kind of maybe see it in the people around you. And obviously ask them, don't just guess, oh, you're this and that,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
see how, oh yeah, truly we all work together. Like when I learn about this, I see that the people in my life in some way really meant to be there, and kind
Hmm.
of, because like you said, like the manifester, they're good at initiating, but they're to sustain something, they can't do it. Like it really
Mm.
somebody else needs to come in to complete everybody, like, so everybody really has a part to play and everybody is valuable. And
That that is it in essence. Like it really shows us we're all here for a reason and we need each other. Um, and if our society was working in this way according to everybody's energy, I think it would be just phenomenal because everyone would be aligned with their purpose and using their energy in a way that was the best, not only for them, but for society as a whole. It's just really powerful and inspiring. And I'm glad you like the very, very condensed, concise version because it's such a complex system and it goes so, so deep. Like you can really get to the nuances of what makes you specifically unique as a manifesting generator compared to another one, right? Like it gets even more detailed. So I
yeah,
always recommend go get your charts read and be prepared to be amazed. It's really
definitely.
encouraging.
For
Yeah.
sure. And I will definitely, since you brought that up and you explore this, and I mean, share it a little bit, I'm sure that there would be those who would be interested to know what their chart is. So I will definitely add that on the link. So we want to know how to get in touch with you. But before we do that, I wanted to ask you, what else is, I was going to say pressing, but that might not be the word to explain, but what else does your heart want to share before we transition? What's important right now to be seen?
Within myself personally, you mean?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
space need to see.
Yeah. I recently had a little bit of a revelation in the sense of there is quite a big part of me that believes with absolute certainty that what I want will come to me and what I want to create is possible and what I want to experience is waiting there for me. Like there's just I notice there's really a part of me that just knows. And it's very, very peaceful feeling. So that makes me feel like I'm connecting really to the self. And this is a big deal for me personally because as an overthinker I have many different voices of yeah but how and what and blah 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 blah. And I've just come recently into this feeling, really strong feeling of yeah, it's coming. Just keep going, it's coming. You don't need to worry about the how or the when, but it's coming. Everything you want is available to you. So that's a really, really comforting feeling. And if no one else is feeling that yet, just know that that feeling is accessible to you as well, because we can get so lost up in our minds and into our fears, and especially with the fear of the uncertainty of the future and what's going to happen, and to kind of return back to this peace within yourself that just knows like yeah no, don't worry, it's coming. Everything is possible, all your dreams will come true. Yeah, that's a really, really beautiful feeling that I've been experiencing lately. Yeah, it's very new actually, so I just felt called to share that.
I love that you share that because you said the word comforting, and that to me feels like home. What you
Yeah,
shared, that realization, revelation, definitely feels like home. That those revelation arise, come to however way perception you want to experience yourself. But I feel that those come from a place within you where you feel home. Because
yeah,
otherwise I don't believe that they're never there, but otherwise you won't see, won't perceive, won't hear if you're not home in yourself, if you're not one with yourself, at peace with yourself. So I'm so glad you shared
Exactly.
that, because definitely that is for me. It resonate. Those were some of the things that I've come to realize within myself. But even even in the midst of me experiencing my humanity, like I
Mhm.
feel, I don't know if this resonates with you, but at least for me, I feel that even with the revelation, it doesn't bypass my humanity. I still have
Mhm.
human experiences where I feel my limitation and my lack, where I feel the longing of where is it? But at the same time, when I continue to come home to myself, I can feel comforted, as you use the word comforting. I can feel comforted in my humanity, knowing that I understand, but it's coming. It is waiting for you. Like you said, you are going to experience it. You didn't long for it or dream of it. And it's just like all air. It's never going to
Mhm.
manifest. It will. It will. In the
Yeah.
moment, this is where we're at right now.
Yeah. And it's so beautiful what you said, because especially about humanity, because you are a human being and you'll kind of zip in and out of this feeling, right? Like you'll go back into being outside of yourself or being influenced by other people, or getting confused by the mind and blah 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 blah, all this noise. But you have the opportunity to shift back, to go back home and remember, like, oh yeah, okay. And so it's just this little dance of, like you say, coming back home to yourself at the end of the day, coming back in and saying, oh yeah, I feel it, I feel my truth, I know what's, yeah, I know it's, I want to say, I know what's real, like in the sense it has, but it hasn't happened yet. But I want to say I know it's real. So okay, that's maybe the word that I have to use. I know it's real. I know it's coming. Yeah.
Oh, Alicia, you're so beautiful. Oh my God.
Oh, thank
Thank
you
you for allowing me to
so
experience you and us to experience you, and trusting the space of your story. So for those that resonate, want to go deeper into getting to know you and your practice and how you are contributing and sharing yourself into this beautiful world that we all live in, how can we get in touch with you? What does that look like?
Well, there's two main ways. If you are an Instagram user, you can find me at alicia.inspired. And I have a website, aliciainspired.com, where there's all sorts of content on there, including a free masterclass about feminine energy and how to still build success in your life without burning out, which is key, right? We want to be able to use our energy in a sustainable way. So there's actually a free class on that website. If anyone is interested, I really hope it serves you, because it completely changed my life.
Okay, well, that is that. Thank you again for being here. And everyone, you heard it. If you want to go deeper in exploring how that resonance that you have with Alicia, definitely I will add the links on the description, and definitely follow her, go explore that resonance and go deeper in how you can use your energy in a way that really is sustainable and that supports you on what your soul is really longing for and want to do, or
Mhm.
to to be here in the
Yeah.
earth. But that is it, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm Florence Leonardo. Continue on the path of the discovery of self. You are the treasure.